Hi, come along for a ride as we talk about Jesus and just enjoy the beautiful outdoors on the back of the motorbike. How's it, everybody? It's your weekly vitamin. Riding the roads of Riyadh again. Today I'm on my way again to meet some friends at the Starbucks. Last week I had my dates wrong. It was actually this week. So, we'll have some coffee, go do some riding with some friends. I really enjoy riding. I really do. I've been commuting to work the last week, 2 weeks actually, and it's given me time to familiarize myself with the roads, with the driving style of Riyadh. You know, every place you ride has a different character. And Riyadh definitely has its own character. People ride a bit crazy. They ride fast. They change lanes unexpectedly. But pleasantly surprised in the peak hour traffic. You know, California has a law. It's just passed the law, strangely enough. Or a little while ago, they passed the law that you could that the lane between traffic was a legal motorcycle lane. Now I'm not sure if in Riyadh they've passed the same law, but when I get caught on the traffic on the highway and I do go between cars down the motorcycle lane, more often than not people will move out the way and actually give you space, and that's pretty awesome. It's pretty impressive, because Riyadh, like any big city, is very impersonal. It's very business oriented. Well, I mean, as business orientated as a big city in a Muslim country can be. So you would think that the traffic is as bad, but it isn't usually. It's usually actually quite friendly. You know, you always have one. Young guys that feel the need. Anyway. Where was I? Oh, yeah, so mostly the people are friendly on the roads. today we have one of those that are not always that friendly. Feels that he has to challenge a motorcycle. Now, I'm not interested in proving that my motorcycle is faster than his car. I just want to get away from him. Ha! So maybe now I'll be able to show you what I mean about traffic. Obviously an accident up front here. So let's see if this traffic is as friendly as the peak hour traffic usually is. Oh boy, look at that. City traffic, man. There must have been a accident on the highway this morning. It's up front here. I hope and pray that he is okay. So, Riyadh traffic. There you saw just a little piece of it. On to another topic. My Bible study this week was a very short Bible study. We did Acts chapter 8, the first 3 verses, verses 1 to 3. And in this, it starts up with and Saul agreed with him completely, because, you know, in the previous chapters, in chapter 7, we had seen Stephen be accused, falsely accused, of blasphemy against Moses, against the law, against the temple, and stuff like that. And we had seen his wonderful defense, where he recounts the history of Israel and basically rebukes them for killing Jesus and for not believing. And the last part of his testimony angered them so much that they actually charged at him and they stoned him to death in contravention of Roman law. And chapter 8 opens up with and Saul agreed with them completely. So, you know, we met Saul in chapter 7, where he was one of the men of what was called the synagogue of the freedmen, men that had theological debates with the early Christians, learned men who were very, very zealous about their faith. And so Stephen was completely happy to be part of the stoning of our first martyr, Stephen. And that action of martyring Stephen, of killing Stephen, had an opposite effect to what the religious leaders and the scribes and the Pharisees were planning. It basically scattered the early church. It scattered the people. So, you know, in the last command that Jesus gave, oh boy, I should have gone there. the last command that Jesus gave the apostles and the disciples was to go out and spread the good news to all corners of the earth. But you know, we see that they hadn't really started doing this yet. They were still very centered around Jerusalem, you know, and then so the stoning of Stephen comes along, and then they scatter. So I don't want to over spiritualize the Bible study, and I don't want to read into the text that's not there, because Acts is just, it's a historical account of what's happening. But it seems to me like at that point, God allowed Stephen to be martyred because he knew it would be a catalyst for his people to go and do what he had told them to do. So everybody except the apostles expanded out and scattered and started going throughout Judea and Samaria. And old Saul, he saw it as his duty to stop this movement. He saw it as he was very zealous about stopping Christians, stopping the good news. So because they all scattered, he also scattered. And what happened to him after that? I mean, he had gone to everybody, gone to the leadership of the synagogue and said, listen, give me a letter so that I can go to Damascus and carry on my persecution of these people, of the followers of the way. So they gave him one. So we see from the people scattering, Saul also scatters. He also follows them. He goes to Damascus and he says, all right, I'm going to carry on persecuting these. Well, he didn't call it a persecution, I'm sure. He just said, I'm going to carry on my duty by stopping this good news. Well, he wouldn't have called it good news. He would have called it blasphemy. And in the next chapters, I'm not too sure exactly, I think it's chapter 9, we will see, chapter 9 or 10, I don't know, we'll see later on, where Saul meets Jesus on the road to Damascus. So what the enemy meant for bad, what the enemy meant for an absolute stopping of the good news, God used for good. The enemy thought that he would stop this gospel by killing Stephen, and yet his actions was a catalyst for the good news to start spreading. And well, okay, I'm still in the Middle East, so I'm close to the epicenter of that scattering. But the people in the New World, the people in America, Europe, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, they are part of that great expansion. If this scattering hadn't worked, hadn't happened, then I'm sure God would have done something else. But this one is what happened. And the early Christians then started spreading across the world. And they started marching the news of Christ all over the world. And so I look at that and I think, well, how can I apply something that's happened in history to my own life? And then I look through my life and I realize that things have happened, bad things have happened. So my apologies for this. It seems that my microphone unclipped from my recorder at this point. So my apologies for the voiceover. But it is what it is. If I look back in my own life, God has always used situations
to drive his plans, to make things work the way he wants them to work. And so things have happened, things have come up, all kinds of things have happened. And they always turn out to be as God wills it, because God's will is sovereign. Sometimes they're not nice things, sometimes they're good things, sometimes not. God did not promise us a wonderful, happy life. He did not promise us our best life now. What he did promise us was that people would hate us because of him, because of his name, because we are his followers. And so with the scattering that happened in the early church, acting as a catalyst, many things that have happened, that God has allowed to have happen in my life, have also acted as a catalyst. Things that have spurred me on to do different things, spurred me on to be better, spurred me on to read the Bible, spurred me on to ask God's wisdom to be a better man, a better father, a better leader, a better brother. And then I look at the world around me today, and specifically today, I think it's very apt. I watched the election because, I'm on the other side of the world. I watched the election until the end. And it struck me that Trump was leading for so long. He was running ahead, and then all of a sudden at about 11:30 in the evening, a whole bunch of states stopped counting. And I thought, that's really weird. Why? I've never seen that before. And then I thought to myself, you know what, whatever is happening will be unveiled. Whatever happens in darkness will be brought to light. Maybe not now, maybe not in our lifetime, but it will be revealed, because God said, whatever is done in secret will be revealed when the light of God shines on it. And then I'm wondering if maybe all of this stuff is not happening because everybody was expecting and kind of starting to behave as if Trump was their savior. Now, I'm not saying everybody, but I did see a lot of people placing so much hope on one man to kind of fight all the evils in the world. And I'm wondering if this is not God's way of scattering the people. If this is not God's way of saying, my people need to stand up. My people need to make their voices heard. My people needs to engage the culture and spread my gospel. Not Donald Trump's gospel, not Andre Weideman's gospel, not the Republican Party's gospel, not the Democrat Party's gospel, but my gospel. And just as with the early church, I think that a lot of events in the world right now are becoming a catalyst for us, a kind of call to arms, a rise up and spread the gospel, stand for Jesus as he stood for us, live for him. You know, we have a very short life, 80, 90 years, some of us, if we're lucky, if we're fortunate. But we should be eternally minded. And we should tell as many people as we can about the wonderful gift that Jesus has given us. Let us spread the gospel. Let us go tell everybody what it's all about. Let us be salt and light in dark times. Let us mobilize and be more vocal. As Christians, we need to take back we need to be more active in the culture.
because we are in a culture war. And so maybe it's time for us as Christians to become more vocal and to start spreading the gospel. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord turn his face upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his countenance upon you and give you peace. This is Vitamin Out.